Now let's get this. There's 2-0 loss to Vancouver.
Mm.
I have a couple problems with it. First of all, I'm upset with the organizers of this. Yes, you can shake your head.
You all you talk about is schedules.
I don't like this is a big game, right? Like you're Messi's the start. Like I don't understand why this game was on at 10:30 on a Thursday night and on an eventful day of sports. An eventful day of sports. Nobody really knew this game was on. I just knew it was on because I was flicking through the channels after watching the draft because I wanted to watch something. I'm like, holy crap, Inter Miami's playing a game right now. Nobody really knew about this game. And second, that was a bad performance by Inter Miami in that game. I mean, Vancouver just beat the living piss. It was bad.
It was a terrible performance, but the team dominated the game overall. Where it was that they lacked was in the final third. Unfortunately, they've been lacking a lot in the final third since that LAFC second leg game where they were able to get 3 goals on LAFC, but they were held to a goalless draw against Chicago, and then were held to a goalless defeat against Vancouver. And now with today's game against FC Dallas, we'll talk about it in a little bit. But there's going to be heavy rotation in the lineup, and that could mean Inter Miami could go 3 games in a row without any wins. That's something that we are not accustomed to with this team. Now, Vlad, talking about the start time. Obviously, it was on the West Coast, so they put the start time at 7:30 p.m. for the Vancouver folks so that they would go to the stadium. But I agree. A match like that, a semifinal needs to be played in prime time, 8
Wednesday
p.m.,
couldn't
8:30 p.m.
they couldn't do it the night before on a Wednesday? Like a
No,
game like this, they could have
they couldn't.
promoted this.
They couldn't because on Wednesday, the Vancouver Stadium, BC Place, was actually hosting a concert. So they couldn't
Oh,
they couldn't
jeez.
host the game exactly. So yeah,
This better be a big time artist. And come on, man. Who's bigger than Messi?
Taylor
I
Swift.
don't
Not really.
maybe Taylor Swift.
Maybe not either. That I do want to ask you this, Daniel Solana. We can't predict whether Messi or Suarez will play tonight. That's for Marciano to know, Javier Marciano to know. But what do you expect, like you said, with the rotation tonight, with there being such a big game in the second game of the aggregate against the Vancouver Whitecaps later on this week on a Wednesday? What can we expect as far as rotation wise? How much might we see Messi? Might we see Suarez? Might we not? What are we looking like today as far as the lineup for Inter Miami today? And how would you play it is probably the best question.
I mean, I would rest all 4 All-Stars. I would rest
Wow.
Jordi Alba. I would rest
Wow,
Busquets.
really?
I would rest Suarez, and I would rest Messi if I were Javier Mascherano. Absolutely. I think this team needs to focus on Wednesday night's game. It's by far the biggest game in the history of this young franchise. Not taking anything away from the League's Cup win, but I think we've all agreed that Concacaf Champions Cup is by far the greater trophy and what this team is focused on winning. So I can tell you yesterday at practice, Suarez and Messi were absent during the first 15 minutes when the media is allowed to be there and able to watch. I can tell you that Sergio Busquets was practicing away from the team on his own. Also, Baltasar Rodriguez, one of the nice young Argentine signings that just got his paperwork in last week, and he was not able to make the trip to Vancouver because of a hamstring injury. He was back practicing on his own as well. So he maybe, depending on how he finished yesterday's practice, might have some minutes. But I would bank on the fact that Messi and Suarez are not going to get any minutes at all today. And you're going to see young guys like Alan Obando, the young striker, Ecuadorian striker who came from Barcelona Sporting Club. He'll likely get a nod today. You'll see Fafa Pico in there. You'll see Benjamin Kermaski. And you'll probably see a midfield of Yannick Bright and Federico Redondo today, with most likely Busi either coming off the bench or not playing at all.
Yeah, but it does make a little bit of sense. Try to win this big game on a Wednesday. It's a long MLS season. Although you are quote unquote undefeated in MLS, sometimes you have to take one for the team in order to possibly. I mean, how tall are the odds though? Down 2-0 on aggregates, 2-0 on aggregates. You get it at home, but you're basically starting the game off down 2-0. How and Seattle's probably just going to sit back and play defense. What is the likelihood that Inter Miami finds a way to win this series, as you would call it, against the Vancouver Whitecaps, who are also a very, very good team?
Absolutely. I mean, you've got Brian White, who's been an absolute stud for the Vancouver Whitecaps. He scored the first goal the other day, and not to talk about their players, but They really, really played a fantastic game the other day. They held the back line great. They didn't let Inter Miami get into their back line. And yeah, I mean, they Inter Miami dug themselves a really deep hole. But the one thing that we saw is they're, able to they're very resilient, and they're able to play within themselves and come back from deficits like this, because they were down 2-0 technically to LAFC as well, because LAFC got a goal in the early part of that second leg, and they were down 2-0, and they were able to come back and score 3 goals. Now, the key to this game is going to be for Inter Miami to keep a clean sheet. If Inter Miami cannot keep a clean sheet, then it's going to be very tough, because they're going to have to score 4 goals. Now,
And
can they
that's what
do
I
it?
was about, and that's what I wanted to ask you. Like, do you think they should still keep their goaltender? I know you don't like Calendar at all to be, behind goal, but I mean, they have to go. They have to play clean, or that offense is going to have to score at least more than 3 goals.
Oh, and I don't think it's really on the goalie's fault. I don't think Ustadi had a big part in the loss. I think it was tired legs. I think it was a lot having to do with Macherano going with not a different formation, but he started with Tadeo Allende on the left side and Telasco Segovia on the right side. Usually, Segovia plays on the left and Tadeo plays on the right, so there could have been some sort of adjustment there that they're working out. And the one thing that nobody really wants to talk about, and I talked about it right after the game, I posted it on my X. Lionel Messi has not looked the same over the last couple games. He looks a step slower. He looks a little bit, not into the game. Almost like if he doesn't want to be there. Last game against Vancouver, he was walking the field a lot. And I got a lot of flack about that, because people are like, "Oh, you've never seen a Lionel Messi game before," and I'm like, "Yeah, I watched him play many times my whole life, but he just looks
No.
different. He looks very different these last couple games,
Uninterested,
and
maybe.
that's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks
Okay.
like to me. But he left the pitch after Thursday's game extremely upset. I saw a video on Twitter, on X, about a fan holding a Ronaldo jersey up, and he said something to the fan. He's like, "Hey, wait till next week. Wait till next week." So hopefully, he can find it within himself. Suarez can find it within himself as well, because he's played absolutely awful as well. Let's be, I'm not trying to protect Suarez in any way. I know folks, think that I like to do that because he's Uruguayan and he's my favorite player, but he's been awful as well. So I'm not holding back on anybody. Jordi Alba has not been the same Jordi Alba he was last season. Nobody is gonna protect themselves from the wrath of Daniel Solana here. So I put out an article talking about how poorly the four of them have been playing, and really this team needs them to step up if they're gonna pass on to the next round.
But if there's any team that can overcome a 2-0 deficit, especially at home, it would be this Inter Miami team in Concacaf.
Absolutely, no doubt. I mean, with the star power that they have, just with the depth that they've created, there's no doubt that this team has the firepower, and this team has the willpower to go ahead and turn this around. But again, it's going to be very, very tough. This Vancouver team is the leader in the West. They've shown that they're fantastic. They also play today, and they're going with a very much reserve formation, a lot of substitutions. They're going to rest a lot of players, so they're also looking ahead to Wednesday's game. It's funny, because in other domestic leagues, you would probably start your players today, or not play so much of a reserve formation. But in MLS, you can just play your backups today, because it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. You've got another 30, 25, 26 games to go, and it doesn't really matter. So I think the right way to go, guys, is go with a lineup that has a bunch of reserves in it. Let the young guys play, and who cares? Let's look forward to Wednesday.
Daniel Solana, you cover the team every day with your Battered Herons podcast. I've been noticing a trend that this Inter Miami team, especially this iteration of the team, is starting to get a lot of quote unquote respect or disrespect, like the big three for the Miami Heat. They seem like now they're the bad guys. And I read the power rankings like they might still win the league because they get lucky, Lionel Messi, and they might come back and beat Vancouver because the league and the Concacaf wants them to. It kind of seems like now they kind of seem like the bad guys.
Conspiracy theories. I love that. That means you've emerged as a team, even as a fan base. Listen, I just started that right now. My Knicks and Pistons, I'm diehard, and I just said, yeah, the league doesn't want this series to end quick because they spent too much money on commercials, because that's the only way as a fan I can, you know, understand why the game is going the way it is and it's not going in our favor. So when fans are saying this about Inter Miami, that means a couple of things. One, they're talked about, right? Second, they're really good at if fans are coming up with these type of conspiracy theories.
There's no doubt. I mean, and it's actually kind of laughable because if people are really sitting out there and saying, "Oh, the league is helping Messi and the referees are helping Messi," just go look at the stats. Watch the games. There's no help from the league this year. There's no help from the referees. They haven't gotten, if I'm remember this correctly, I think they've gotten one penalty all year, and that was in the last game against LAFC. So no favors being done by the league or by the referees. I think it's quite the opposite. Actually, they're being unfortunately the referees are going after them. They've been carded a lot this year, more than other teams compared to the amount of fouls that they've made. So it's actually kind of laughable that folks are talking about all these conspiracy theories about Inter Miami. I mean, the facts are this. The facts are wherever Inter Miami goes, they sell out stadiums. They went to Chicago, they set a record. They went over to Cleveland, they set a record. They went to Atlanta earlier this year, they set a record. So they're just like the Heatles of the 2010s. They're just like the Beatles back in the 60s. This Miami team is here to sell out and to be to go out and give fans a beautiful game of give them a beautiful game of soccer.
Absolutely beautiful game. And like you said, Lionel Messi, he hasn't looked himself so much the past couple of games. Maybe it's disinterest, maybe it's fatigue, maybe it's injury. And of course, maybe maybe it's all of those, to be honest with you. I still think he's dealing with some issues.
I do too. I think his adductor injury. I think that's just a chronic injury that he's dealt with for most of his career, and I'm sure it's bothering him, and he's just toughing his way through it. But look, the truth is, Inter Miami. It's rumored that they already have a deal in place with Lionel Messi to sign through 2027, which will put him in Miami Freedom Park for 2 years. And you have to think about that, marketing wise and in terms of recruiting players. I mean, that's got to be fantastic. But in terms of the sporting side, I don't know if giving Messi 2 years, and I don't know the exact numbers on what the contract is, but we have to look at those numbers and see if it makes sense
Yeah, it
sporting wise
does.
to give him that kind of money.